Hello, I'm Andrew Price, and well, I seem to be a bit tied up at the moment, but in this video we'll be looking at escape and evasion kits, so stick around.
Here we have the Wazoo cash belt made by Wazoo Survival Gear, and they are a superb company and they make a lot of great stuff, so it's great to show what they do. And the belt itself is 1.5 inches of tactical webbing with a secret compartment inside the Velcro here, which I'll come back to that in a moment. But first of all, let's talk about the buckle. This is 300 series stainless steel, so it's a very tough buckle. And if we look at the back here, it has a hidden bottle opener. And when I open it up, our first secret compartment becomes available. And we've got this 2 elasticated loops here, and we can put some emergency cash in. You could put $20, $100, pounds, whatever you want, just to have some emergency money when you need it the most. So I'll close that up again. And now we move on to the main compartment, which is about 2/3 of the belt itself, and that's retained by a Velcro strip. So I'll just open the Velcro all the way around, just so we can see what's in here. Now, I've set this belt up very specifically as an escape and evasion belt. So this is really designed for people who are in places where there's a possibility that you may be illegally restrained or illegally captured, and that you may need to escape and then evade afterwards. So I'm going to start on the right hand side. These are built into the belt itself, these sort of bright yellow paracord loops. You can use those to attach things like keys or any kind of emergency gear that you don't want to lose. I haven't actually attached anything to them yet. And I've got a small homemade duct tape pouch here, which I use to hold a Stanley knife blade. So it's just a craft knife blade, very sharp, and I can keep that in there, and it's easily accessed on my right hand side. So I'm right handed, so I want that close to where I can reach it. Coming around a little bit further, I have this Technora escape saw, which is a friction saw made by Oscar Delta, which is a British company, and they make a lot of escape and evasion equipment. And I'll post a link to those down below. Tucked away into it, I also have a little compass. This is a button compass. Not the most accurate, but it certainly points north and it settles down quite quickly. So this will help you to gauge a general direction if you are in an escape situation. Now, attached to this Technora here, I have what's called a rust key. This is also from Oscar Delta, and the rust key is designed to open most Russian style handcuffs. So if you're in an area where there's a possibility that you might get handcuffed by a Russian, well, there's lots of places that could happen, and this might get you out of trouble. Coming around a little bit further, we have another item from Oscar Delta. This is called the Leech, and it's a concealable item, or a combination of items. And here we have a glass breaker. So this is a tungsten glass breaker. Doesn't weigh very much, but if you whip that against a glass window, a vehicle, this will allow you to escape. So it doesn't take much movement. Even if your hands are tied, you could probably swing this with some effect. Coming down, we have some more Technora cord. It's quite short, but you could still use this as a friction saw to get out of things like plastic cuffs or duct tape. If we move this little rubber tube here, it exposes another useful feature, which is a handcuff key. Now, this is designed to open the style of handcuffs that are very popular in the West. So certainly the UK and the States have handcuffs that will be opened using this style of handcuff key. So that could get you out of trouble quite effectively. Now we remove this rubber tube. And this is a Ahuna, or AHEC, another item from Oscar Delta. This one is designed to mimic certain types of Chinese handcuff key. So there are several types of handcuff key that are used typically in China, and this is the one that will open the most common of those. Then we have a diamond impregnated rod. You can see that sparkling. Now, it may take a lot of time, but this will get through just about any material that's softer than diamonds, which is just about any material, and it'll just take a while to abrade and work your way through that. So you could use that if you were in captivity and you had a bit of time on your hands. Then we have a bobby pin or hairpin. These can be improvised into lots of shimming and lock-picking devices. And we also have a shim here which can be used to open handcuffs. So it's very, very thin, very difficult to mimic out of normal materials, but this will open most handcuffs using a bypass method that opens the mechanism of the handcuff. So that's the leech. Coming around a bit further, if you have escaped, one of the most important things will be to acquire water, and that's where the Wazoo survival gear water bag and water purification tablets come in. So this is from the Wazoo survival gear survival kit. It contains a water bag and also I think it's about 6 Catadin water purification tablets. So that will give you 6 litres of purified water in an emergency. Coming around a bit further, also from the Wazoo survival gear kit, we have a wire saw. These are really useful. They can be used to cut just about any soft-ish materials, so plastics, wood, things like that. Even soft metals like aluminium, and it may take a while, but it will get through there. Coming around a bit further, very cool items here. So we have a stainless steel safety pin, which can be used for all sorts of tasks. And we also have these Bogota stainless steel lockpicks, which are very pretty, highly polished. And these can be used to pick all sorts of locks. So padlocks, door locks, anywhere you may need to escape from. And then finally, coming around to here, we have a friction saw. This is a Technora friction saw, and this can be used in a sawing motion to open things like plastic cuffs or zip ties or duct tape. And on the subject of that, the next task will be to demonstrate how you can use one of these to escape from duct tape and cable ties. The first step, if you're restrained using thinner gauge wrist ties like this or cable ties, is to pull them down as tight as you can. So there's still a little bit of give in there. So I'll pull them as tight as I can. And I think that's about as tight as they'll go. Now, hands together like this. And we're going to use our rib cage as a wedge to split these open. So it needs to be done with full force. You can't do it in a half-hearted way. It's got to be full commitment from the start. So I'll do it on 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm free. So it's just a single strike backwards using your chest to lever apart, and you're out. This is a really good method to use if you're in a confined space and you can't use that dynamic method. And it also works well in places if you are illegally restrained using much sturdier zip ties, the sort of things the police might use. Now, we're not advocating that you try to escape from the police, but just using the type of cuffs that they might use, this method will work well. So fortunately, I have my Wazoo cash belt on, and it's the perfect place to hide a little tool for a specific purpose. Try and get it. Just bear with me. Here we go. So I have here a friction folding saw from Oscar Delta, who make a lot of escape and evasion equipment. And this is made from Technora, which is a Kevlar fabric that can effectively cut through plastic or rope, paracord, anything like that. So to begin with, I take this little plastic tab here and I put this down and I feed it in between the cuffs, like so. So just get it down through there. I can now pull it through, and it has a very large loop on this side. So I put this first loop around this foot, and now I take the second loop, and these loops are big enough to go over shoes or boots, and we take that second loop and that goes around my other foot. Now I'm now in a position where I can use a sawing motion. It didn't take very long, and it cuts through the plastic using friction. So a very effective way of escaping from illegal restraints. You can use the same friction saw to cut through something like paracord. So exactly the same tactic. I use this little plastic tab, feed it down through the gap, take it with my teeth, pull it through as far as I can, and now the first loop goes around my left foot. The second loop goes around my right foot. And now I'm in exactly the same position, so I can use the same soaring motion, a bit like pedaling a bicycle. There we go. And then we're free. Excellent. Now I seem to have been illegally restrained using gaffer tape, which is another hazard. Now, it is possible to use a dynamic technique to break gaffer tape as well, but if they've used a lot of it, or if you're in a confined space where you don't have the room to do that dynamic technique, maybe you could have a hidden blade of some sort. So I'm fortunate enough to have my belt, which is my Wazoo cash belt, and if I can just undo the buckle with my pinky, there we go, I can now pull the whole belt away. If you're a little bit more flexible than me, you probably could access individual components without taking the whole belt off, but I'm going to take the whole belt off anyway. Now, once I've got the whole belt off, I can access a small concealed blade that I keep in this part of the belt. And this is just in a homemade tape sheath, and it's a little ceramic Stanley knife blade. So I can use this either between my teeth, or if I can carefully move my hand into position to get to it. But I'm going to use my teeth. It's a lot more tricky than it looks. Okay, here we go. It is an exposed blade, so I'm being very careful not to cut myself here. But it is doing the job. Here we go. Oh, right, dehead my arm, but that little blade is perfectly effective at getting through the tape. So a blade like that could get you out of a lot of trouble, plus it has added benefits as being used for escape and evasion and survival in the event that you do get away as well.